I think we all have our own journey where, especially when you don't want to take responsibility, at the beginning, you don't like I'm so triggered personally right now by the word feedback. I don't know why. Just when someone's like, I have feedback for you, I'm like, they're going to say something negative. And it's usually like, not. It's like, hey, did you ever think about this? I'm like, say you have an idea. Say you have an idea, you have a thought. But when someone's like, hey, I noticed that you said this, but you mean this, and they're calling me out, it doesn't trigger me like it used to. I'm like, thank you. Thank you. Because I have a desire to grow, and I've accepted that we're always evolving. There's no arrival. It's a journey. It's a game. It's an evolution.
Listening to the Made for More podcast, where I tell you everything you need to know to build your online empire. I cover mindset, marketing, and how to build massive momentum. And I promise you, I don't leave anything on the table. You know that you are made for more, and that's exactly why you're here. So let's stop playing small and start playing bigger. This is the Made for More podcast. Let's do this. Okay, just imagine this for a second. Imagine that you got to hang out with loads of other women who were exactly like you. Like, they were ambitious, they supported you, they cheered you on, they had your back, and every single time you spoke to them, you felt more powerful and even more inspired to go after your dreams. And imagine if every single week you got to get on a live coaching call with other coaches and other incredible people just like you to keep growing your skills. And imagine if all of those goals that you set yourself at the beginning of the week, you were held accountable to. So at the end of the month, people would come up to you and say, how are you getting on with that goal? Are you staying on track? And making sure that you don't fall off the wagon. Oh, and can you even imagine if twice a month you got updates on all the top trending reels to completely skyrocket your success on social media? Like all the tips and tricks that all the pros use, directly from the Girls Building Empires content creator. Imagine if you found a place like that where there was a roadmap where you could literally come in, follow a roadmap to 6 figures, and just completely let go of all the noise out there and follow a proven system for success. Can you imagine how cool would that be? And imagine if you could get all of that for less than $50 a month. I mean, that's nuts. I literally so wish I had this when I was starting out in my business, and this is exactly why I created the Startup to Six-Figure Sisterhood. I promise this is literally everything you've been dreaming for, because this was honestly everything I have been dreaming for my entire life in business. I know you're going to love the Startup to Six-Figure Sisterhood. It's the most incredible membership of people just like you, and I made it just for you to make sure that you stay on track with your goals and you can build your ultimate dream empire. Just head over to girlsbuildingempires.com/sisterhood and you'll be able to find all the details. You are welcome. See you there. Hello, my friend. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I'm so excited to bring you this episode. So one of my biggest focus for the season of business that I'm in right now is my podcast. I'm absolutely loving my podcast. I tell everyone to start a podcast, and I really wanted to give it a lot of love and put a lot of time and energy into it. So one of the things that I'm doing is I'm committed to bringing you incredible guests. I really love hearing from other people, and I also love sharing these incredible people with you as well. So I've got some amazing interviews lined up, and we are kicking off this new interview season with the incredible Heather Chauvin. Now, Heather is actually a leadership coach, and she helps ambitious, overwhelmed women break free from their fears to courageously and authentically live, work, and parent on their own terms. I mean, does that not sound like my kind of woman? She's also the author of a book called Dying to Be a Good Mother. I absolutely love that title. And she is the host of highly loved podcast Emotionally Uncomfortable, which has a casual 6 million downloads. She is literally incredible. I know you're going to love this episode so much. She goes so deep into her story and and her story is so, so inspiring. And the way that she is so open and so vulnerable and so willing to shine the light on herself and say, what can I do? Like, how am I responsible for my actions? I honestly just find so fascinating. So I know you're going to love this episode. If you do love it, please make sure that you take a screenshot, share it on your Instagram and tag me at Carly Meyers Life and at Girls Building Empires. And of course, let me know what you're loving. I always love it when you slide into my DMs and let me know what breakthroughs you've had and what you are absolutely loving. So thank you so much. If you do love it, make sure you head over to Apple iTunes and leave me a 5-star review. It helps so much, honestly, more than you know. And also it enables me to get even bigger and better guests on here as well. So thank you so much. I know you're going to love this and I'll see you soon. Bye.
Hey Heather, how you doing?
I am so grateful. Carly, thank you for being here. I'm doing fabulous.
I'm so grateful for you being here as well. I absolutely love everything you're about. One of my favorite things, about women, especially women entrepreneurs, is women who are very powerful, very ambitious. They've got a lot about them, but they are not afraid to be vulnerable and to call themselves out and say, I suck at this, by the way, or this thing I'm still learning, or this thing I'm still working through. And that's what I got when I listened to your podcast. I was like, she is on a process like all of us. And I loved that. I love that you call out the process, and I love that you're so honest about it. So thank you so much for doing that. That's how we learn our biggest lessons, I think.
Yeah, I find it fascinating. One, I don't see myself that way, right? I still have self-doubt. I still have fear. I still have guilt. I'm always in process, but it's interesting how the world views us or an individual views us versus how we view ourselves. But the vulnerability was part of the reason why I started podcasting in the first place, because I felt so alone and isolated. And I was like, am I the only one out there that feels like this? So yeah, I feel like it's in my DNA to be vulnerable.
Oh, it's so good. I always say to my listeners, sometimes I feel like my podcast is therapy. Like my solo episodes, I get on and I just talk. It's kind of like I'm journaling out loud. And then I think I overshared a bit then, but it's fine. People will learn from it. It's all good.
100%. That's what I love about podcasting, though. It feels like you're in somebody's living room. Mm-hmm. And most of the time when I am sharing those episodes, I'm like, no one wants to hear this. And then I'm getting all of these DMs like, thank you, thank you, thank you, mm-hmm. thank you. So it really goes to show our stories make an impact.
100%. So talking of your story, I would love to know more about it. I know that my listeners would love to know about it because you've got such a powerful story. Take us back to, it's hard to say take us back to where it all started because it all starts from the beginning. But take us back and share how you kind of got here and how you become the woman that you are today.
Yeah, so I'm going to share kind of different aspects of my story. There's many hats that I wear: mother, business owner, partner, wife, sister, all the things, woman. And back in the day when I would say my first quote unquote awakening, right? I feel like anyone listening to a podcast or buying a self-help book is a seeker in some capacity. And you're asking yourself, there's more. Hence the reason the name of your podcast. It's mm-hmm. like, there has to be something more. And I started asking myself that when I became a mother. I was 18 years old. I was a young mom. My oldest is now, he's 17. So it's very weird to see your child almost the same age you were. But I just remember I was like, not this. I want to, that was like my first like living for somebody else, but also this sense of, I don't want to become a statistic. I can overcome like societal's expectations of who I need to be. And then that got me into university, that got me into social work, that got me into falling in love with meditation and mindfulness and really understanding my son's behavior instead of reacting and yelling and punishing. At the same time, I'm being a hypocrite and I'm helping people with their children's behavior in my corporate job and my day job. And I'm like, there's such a misalignment here. And I'm sure people listening can identify with this, but I remember that feeling inside of me that's like, I cannot do this for 30 years. Like, I will die. And I got out. I decided, not that quickly or that simple. There was a lot of fear. There was a lot of scarcity. self-doubt and judgment by family and friends. And me just really, I think what served me well and what serves me well to this day is that like rebel inside of me. And of course there's healthy coping strategies and there's not healthy coping strategies. But it was when I left and I took that leap, I started making money slowly. I started charging $10 a child to teach them meditation and mindfulness. And then I realized it was the parents who needed to meditate. So then I started teaching them. And then I took an online course and started bringing it online. And then I started podcasting, just building. And then 9-ish years ago, as I'm fully immersed into my startup in my business, I have 3 boys. My youngest was a year old at the time. He's now 10 years old. I was diagnosed with a stage 4 cancer. And that moment, mind you, I had like 9 years of personal development under my belt. And that moment was like I surrender. Like I felt like for the first 9 years I was training for a race. And then that moment was like, put your money where your mouth is. It is time to do the work. And I never showed up as the victim. I was never like, look at me, I have cancer. It was like, every day's a lesson. How can I? And that really transitioned into, let's stop making it be about the other person. Let's stop blaming the child. Let's stop blaming the partner. Let's stop blaming the economy. Let's stop blaming anything outside of us. And how did I want to feel? And so slowly I started integrating that into my work and helping women feel in alignment at home, whatever their home environment looked like, because you are your life, right? And then also within their work and or their business. And I find it fascinating that as humans, we still have this disconnect that like, no, it's just about the work. It's just about business. Like I need to figure out what my next career move is, or I need to figure out like how to make more money. And then we just completely discount ourselves. Like our needs and desires don't matter and we can just check boxes all day. So I'm all about inside out. You got to work on the insides to manifest on the outsides in a very practical way, because where I sit today, it's like you can have whatever you want and you can find the calm in the chaos. My dog can poop on the carpet on the floor behind me and be like, damn it, I'm doing this podcast interview and still find that joy and be present and work on the triggers and all of the healing work that's required.
So true. I mean, yeah, I completely agree with all of that. And I've definitely had the same feeling of like, it's not actually about the work. Like you just have to do the work inside. And it's so crazy to me. I mean, thinking I have a 1-year-old daughter. I also have a 3-year-old son. And the idea of getting a diagnosis now, like that's petrifying to me. But the difference is the fact that you've done that work beforehand. Like how different your life would be if you got that same diagnosis, exactly the same thing. But if you hadn't have done that personal work beforehand, your life right now would be completely different, wouldn't it?
100%. And I'm not afraid of that anymore. It's not like I live in denial, but I think when you face your deepest fears, you realize that it always reminds me of like the Wizard of Oz. You like pull back the curtain, you're like, oh, you are the Wizard of Oz. Like fear is so intense to keep us safe, and once you face it, there is that sense of freedom. But that brought me to this little model that I created, and I talk about it in my TEDx talk, where I think I labeled it the sustainable ambition theory. And it's like a pyramid, and at the bottom there's survival mode, and then you have the state of momentum, and then thrival, and then this creative abundance. When I was diagnosed, I was living in a state of survival mode in most areas of my life, like financially, mentally, physically, emotionally, in my relationships. And we've been conditioned, especially as women, to just get by. You hear it all the time in the lingo, living paycheck to paycheck, except we got the money going out just enough to live paycheck to paycheck. But why can't we learn to, one, why is there so much money going out? Do I need all the clothes, all the food, all the things? And how can I bring more in? And it's like, we got to train ourselves for that abundant mindset. We have to train ourselves for that state of thrival and survival. So when COVID happened, I looked at my husband and I said, one, I'm having deja vu, like the isolation, the like walls coming down. And two, I feel like everyone is going to feel a similar experience in their own human experience, and that we're all having in the same storm, different boats, right? So it was crazy to feel like we were in such a state of thrival in most areas of our life that we were okay. And it might have dropped down a little bit. Things happen in life, but when you're like, my cup is full, there is so much more to give. When life happens to you, it doesn't affect you like it does when you're living in a state of survival.
It's such a good visual, isn't it, to look at that pyramid and just identify where you're at? Because I think that's probably the biggest problem, is that most people don't really realize what state they're in. They don't really realize that they're surviving. And I definitely had that eye-opener not that long ago with my health. I got really, really ill, and I was thinking, I've literally just been doing enough to get by. Like, there is no way I've been nourishing myself and treating myself and, with respect. I've literally just been getting by. And you're so right. That's what people do with their finances, with their life, with everything. So how do you think, if you hadn't have had that cancer diagnosis, how do you think your life would look differently now?
I'm curious about that too. And I feel like I would definitely already be on the personal development path. I feel like it was just growth on steroids. Mm-hmm. But the one thing it did make me look at, which was worthiness and how I valued myself. And one of the things that I talk about in the book, and I've talked about this openly, but as a child, I was like, what's the point of living? Do I have a purpose? I was so disconnected from myself and my sense of purpose. And I felt like, and then having my son, my purpose was then living for somebody else. And there's this like pattern in my life, or like, who knows, maybe it's my karma, my soul's purpose, who knows? But it was coming around to this like, oh, Heather, you think you don't have a purpose? Like, you think like you're just here to serve and live for other people, and like you don't, like, you're not allowed to feel good, you're not allowed to receive. Here's the little lesson. And I had to fight to face my deepest fears. Like, I felt like I was backed into a corner. I had to make money while I was undergoing treatment. I was not going to be rescued by anybody else. We did not have the privilege of all of those. Like, we just weren't set up for success in that way. And I did it all. Like, I did what I needed to do to survive. And I remember being on the other side of that going, what did I face? And it was my deepest fear that I like, quote unquote, did not want to be alive, or didn't have a sense of purpose, or like, who am I in this world? And I think now I have this like, and I wouldn't say I definitely had it like then, it's been a journey to get there, is this sense of like, I am me. Like, I am a person, I am whole, I am fulfilled, I am imperfect, I'm excited and curious. And that as now I have my own sense of identity. And as my children go and grow and become people, like their own people, I can co-create my life with them. And I am there. I am in it. We do the things together, but I can see the separation, that like, your fear is not my fear. Your like wounds to be healed. I cannot blame myself for everything that you become, because you have your own spiritual experience, and I will be a guide and walk alongside with you, but I cannot do the work with you. I'm going to do my own work. So I just feel whole now, because I looked at the places of myself that I was resisting looking at.
That's such a good message. And I just think, I love what you said when you said, like, you're not responsible for everything that your kids do. That's such a good message, because my goodness, it can feel like you are a lot of the time. Like, when my kids are having a tantrum, I'm thinking, is this me? Did I do this? Did I somehow create this?
The first thing we go to is like, is this me? Mm-hmm. I will tell you recently, I've been looking at my own parents a lot. And I've come to, so my mother lives with us, and purposely, like, you know, she has a mother-in-law apartment and she lives with us, and it's always just been her and I'm an only child. And we like fought like cats and dogs, like as a child, as a teenager. And I've released so much anger around her. And I'm like, you did the best that you possibly could. But I actually feel that and believe that now. And then I look at my father and I'm like, okay, there's still things to unpack and do there. And we have these wounds. And I'm like, but when do we stop blaming our parents? Mm-hmm. Like, when do everyone blames the mother wound? Everyone blames the childhood. But do we realize that that is actually part of the human experience, and that it doesn't matter how quote unquote good I try to be or how perfect I try to be, I am still fundamentally screwing up my children because we're all human and imperfect. Mm-hmm. And I actually watched the pendulum swing where my son, my oldest son, actually puts me a little bit on a pedestal because he's like, Mom, you've achieved this, you've done this. I will never amount to that. And I was like, oh, for crying out loud. Now, like, you know, I didn't want to become my parents, so I worked hard to, like, you know, do the opposite. And you put me up here and you're like, I will never be good enough. I'm like, this good enough wound is always there, whether we want to run away from who they were or run toward who they are. It's like such a mind game. And the season that I'm in is like when my go-to is to want to blame my parent wounds. I'm like, no, the more I heal that, the less pressure I put on myself that I'm screwing up my kids.
Yeah, 100%. I actually think responsibility, like taking responsibility, is one of the most attractive characteristics someone can have. Like, and that's actually one of our core pillars in Girls Building Empires. It's something that I teach people all the time. Take responsibility for your success, for your failures, for everything in your life. As soon as you stop blaming other people, that's when you're really free. I can say this because my partner literally blames everything. He once left his sunglasses in the pocket of an airplane and somehow blamed me for it. He was like, you walked past and didn't pick up the sunglasses. I was like, babe, you've got some blame stuff to do there. You need to do the blame work. But I do think that the blame thing is such a powerful thing. So you've mentioned a couple of times now about really facing your emotions and facing the truth of what's in you and what's going on in your head and those emotionally uncomfortable situations. Obviously, that's what your podcast is called. Yeah. I would love to know, because people are scared of this. People are scared of facing it. And I've definitely had times in my life where I've actually not wanted to sit with my own thoughts because I don't want to say disturbed, but I was just really disappointed with what I was thinking. I was thinking, this is low. Yeah. I'd love to know about an uncomfortable, emotionally uncomfortable situation that you can look back on now and think, thank goodness I faced that.
Okay. So before I tell a story, and if I go off on a tangent, let me know. But part of the reason why the podcast is called Emotionally Uncomfortable is because it used to be called Mom is in Control. And I did not like that title ever. And I had a coach one time, a branding coach, and she's like, but Heather, all of these women want to feel in control. And I'm like, yeah, but it's the controlling behavior that is keeping people stuck, right? So it's like the perfection, and it's like I need to have a step-by-step and I need to check the boxes. And as I noticed, as I was starting to work with people and to speak, and of course living my own life experience, I was like, you say you want more, you say you want freedom, you say you want joy, but you like avoid doing the work to get there. Like, what is that about? Well, it's emotionally uncomfortable. It's resistance. It's fear. It's what if I outshine? What if I grow and then I lose my husband because we're not compatible anymore? What if everybody leaves me? Like, all these irrational fears. I feel like my whole identity is about running towards, like, currently it's a game to me now. I'm like, get wildly weird about it. It's life is a game, and I'm like, what am I resisting? I'm gonna do that. People are like, how do you get motivation to do that? I'm like, oh no, it's not about motivation. To me, I know this. Like, I know that the more I run towards something that is uncomfortable and I'm on the other side of it, I build self-trust. And when I build self-trust, I build confidence. So I have many stories about this. The first one I would say is my cancer diagnosis. I mean, even before that, becoming a mother and, you know, peeing on a stick and being like, you're 18 years old, you just, you're supposed to go to like away for college in 2 months. You can't do that. You have like 3 weeks left of high school and you don't want anybody to know about this. So you kind of got to fake it till you make it and just pretend that you're not pregnant and go to school and wear bigger clothes and do the things. Being in an abusive relationship with a drug addict that, you know, you do not want to be in a relationship with. And it's like, how do I get out of that? How do I face that? How do I not run towards it because it's the right thing to do? And that's what people are telling me to do. And also facing my deepest fear of dying and leaving my children behind and going, I don't know what tomorrow brings. I don't know if I'm going to be here next week, next year, next month. All I have is this moment. And in this moment, I have to choose how I want to feel. I have to feel my fear. I have to face my fear. And I have to take action accordingly to how I want to feel. And so I think everybody can resonate with these low, low, low moments in their lives of crisis and the bottom. And then it's a really good story on stage. And it's a really good story, you know, to write in a book or a podcast. But here's the thing, becoming uncomfortable to challenge ourselves to grow. Now I do this with endurance races. I love wildly interesting events, not just marathons, but I just went to, do you know who Jesse Itzler is?
Yeah, I just listened to your last podcast about it. And I was thinking, I definitely want to go and do the hill. I mean, you've not made the hill sound fun, but I want to do it.
Not at all. But, you know, my husband came with me, which is a whole other story and adventure, but he's not the emotionally uncomfortable type like me. But I'm like, there's something bigger coming. Like, I can feel the next evolution coming. So instead of blowing up my whole life and causing drama that is not needed, let's just put ourselves in a situation that we may or may not be able to achieve. And so, yes, there was this hill where you're literally doing half a marathon distance of like 13.1 miles up this hill, down this hill, 65 times around. But you also had to face that, like, what if I fail? And every single time on the hill, there was this moment where I just wanted to give up, and I did it. And then at the end, I built that self-trust. And so watching myself go there where I've done a few other things, I'm like, I don't care. I'll just show up. I'll live it, you know, be in the moment, one foot in front of the other. But watching my husband do this for like the first time, you realize you build those strength muscles of being able to sit with yourself, being able to sit with your thoughts, being able to sit with your emotions and go, I did it then, I can do it again. Like, I can get through anything. Like, bring it on. Yeah, I have so many freaking stories.
It does become addictive, doesn't it? You know, when you realize like just that next version, that next level of you is the other side of it. You're kind of like, oh, I don't want to face it, but I'm going to face it. And I know that I'm going to, you know, shine bright at the end of it. I'm the same as well. Now I really love it. I love listening to certain people that really call me out on stuff. You know, when they say something and it hurts because it's so painfully true. You're like, oh, I hate that resonates, but that does resonate. But then you face it and you're good.
Now I love it. You know, I think we all have our own journey where, especially when you don't want to take responsibility, at the beginning, you don't like I'm so triggered personally right now by the word feedback. I don't know why. Just when someone's like, I have feedback for you, I'm like, they're going to say something negative. And it's usually like, not. It's like, hey, did you ever think about this? I'm like, say you have an idea. Say you have an idea, you have a thought. But when someone's like, hey, I noticed that you said this, but you mean this, and they're calling me out, it doesn't trigger me like it used to. I'm like, thank you, because I have a desire to grow, and I've accepted that we're always evolving. There's no arrival. It's a journey. It's a game. It's an evolution.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's such a good attitude to have about it, because people are waiting for that moment to take action when they have it all figured out. They're like, oh, well, I'll take action on my business and I'll do this once I've figured out all of my limiting beliefs, or once I've figured out all of my self-belief. And you're like, babe, it's not coming. Like, you know, the bigger things you take on, the more things come up. It is a complete journey that you've got to keep going through. Now, I love that you, in that last episode that I spoke about, I love that you brought it up as well. You spoke about when the kind of connection in your marriage, and this happens in a lot of other relationships, where one of you is on a growth journey, the other one is perhaps not. And so often, I see this so many times, people can hold back from growing because they think, if I grow, if I become this, you know, the woman that I'm meant to be, if I really do this, I'm going to lose my husband, or I'm going to lose my best friends, or whatever. And I have definitely experienced that. I would love you to talk more about that, because I personally really appreciated you kind of just calling it out and saying, look, this is a real thing. And, you know, you've had it in your marriage. So can you tell me more about that?
Yeah. So I've been with my husband since my oldest, or our oldest, was a year and a half. And he's been the only father that's been in his life. This man is like gold. He is a huge, like, he's just so good. Of course, I wanted to keep pushing him away, right? I'm like, my coping strategy was like hyper independence. And I'm like, I hate men. And I've had to do a lot of healing there. And he's always supported me. He's been through everything. He's seen me at my worst. He was with me through treatment. We've been through a lot. And I remember after my diagnosis specifically, like I was doing the personal development work before, but I remember after that, I just had this moment of like, I am willing to lose you because I'm committed to my growth. And I had a conversation with him because before that, of course, I'm trying to control him. And I'm like, let's do this. Let's try this. Let's go here. And it's like I'm pulling him along, and he's doing the things, but not really doing the things. And for whatever reason, he heard me. And I think that was because I was just committed to myself. I was like, hey, it's like, you know, if you love them, set them free. If they come back, whatever the hell that saying is. I was like, I'm just going to keep being me. Like, I was really committed and devoted to becoming who I was supposed to be in this lifetime. And he trickled along, and there's been many bumps in the road. And then recently, I do this all the time. I try to blame him all the time. And he knows that I'm butting up against something when I'm like, do you want to do this? Do you want to do this? And he's like, that's not my thing. That's not my thing. Stop it. And I'm like, I think I'm afraid. I think I'm growing again. And I'm afraid that if I grow, I'm going to lose you. Like, I can see it now. I can call myself out. And I've come to a place of acceptance. Like, you are you, I am me. We don't need to like the same things. I think there was also a lot of shame that I had for my ambition. You know, I'm the woman. I should be this way. I should desire this. And all the internal work that is required. And currently in our relationship, then I got really sneaky. So he is a huge fan of Jesse Itzler in the capacity of, he likes him as a speaker. He likes him as an influencer, a father, a business owner, like how he shows up, and actually how he talks about his wife, Sarah Blakely, who's the founder of Spanx, how he idolizes her, and he like puts her on a pedestal, and he's like, look at her success. And he doesn't put her down. He values that. And so when Jesse had this event, I was like, that's my in. I don't need to be the one to tell him to do all these things, but I can bring him to this event. So he knew what I was doing. I was like, who do you idolize? Let's do that. Let's find the thing that you do or that you like. But it's been a journey. And I also wildly underestimate what growth looks like in other people, right? So in my marriage, he's growing. And in my mind, he's growing like at a snail pace, like painful snail pace. And I'm like running. And he's like, Heather, you've been at this a lot longer. You do this professionally. And I just don't work like you. And I often feel, what would it be like to be married to myself? And I think that would be wildly destructive.
Mm-hmm. It's so interesting,
it's the
isn't
yin
it?
and the yang. Yeah.
For sure. I can so relate. Like, you know, me and my partner have definitely had those moments before. And we split up at one point because we were just going on different paths. We're both entrepreneurs, both going on different paths. And I remember when we came back together, I just decided, like, I'm just going to do my thing. And you either come with me or you don't. And he obviously thought the same as well. And then even the other day, he sat down and turned the telly up and he was like, I'm going to read my book now. And I was like, okay. And I just think you have to do you, don't you? You have to just do your thing and also allow people to grow at their own pace. Because like he doesn't listen to the amount of podcasts that I listen to. He doesn't read in the way. He's not getting on the webinars that I'm doing. Like our lives are so different. So you can't judge someone based on your knowledge. You have to just meet them where they're at, don't you?
Yeah. And we have to realize why we're trying to control other people, right? Like, and it's typically self-serving, even though we think we're trying to help them. I talk to women all the time who are talking about their partners or somebody in their life. It's like, well, they got to change and they got to do this. And I'm like, but why? And we get down to it. It's because I'm afraid. I'm afraid to feel my feelings. I'm afraid that I'm going to lose them. I'm afraid to, you know, it's wildly codependent. But it's such a free place where it's like, be you, do your thing. Because he allows me to be who I want to be, right? But it's like that healthy support. But I do find, like, you know, there's always seasons and growth. And it goes for children as well. Like having a child, a teenager, is very different than raising a toddler. It's actually mind-blowing. It's been more challenging than I expected it to because...
Oh, don't say that. Don't say that.
Okay, but
I'm in the 3 and the 1-year-old space. I've got years to go.
Know, and this is how I feel like when people talk about menopause, which is terrifying to me as well. And I've already been through menopause when I went through chemo, which is a whole other story. But I will tell you, the reason why any period in parenting has been so challenging for me is because it's a wound that I need to look at and to heal. And so this child is like a spinning image of me. He is, you know, the male version of me, and I'm watching him with his challenges and his struggles, and he's mirroring back my deepest fears. And anytime I try to control somebody else, it's because I feel out of control emotionally. And so I'm trying to not feel, or I'm trying to control. So then the mirror turns back on me. I take responsibility for what I'm avoiding or what I'm not looking at. I grow. And again, it's like when I say this is the hardest part, it's just because it's been a massive growth opportunity. But I wouldn't, you know, I'm not avoiding it. I wouldn't take it back. You just have those freaking growth opportunities. You're like, damn it. I thought I was over this.
Every day is a school day, especially in parenting. My God, they come thick and fast. So you have written a book, Dying to be a Good Mother. I love the title, by the way. I feel like so many mums can relate to it. Why was it so important that you wrote this book? Like, where did the idea for this book come from?
Yeah, I've always had a desire. I always think about like, what are the little breadcrumbs or desires, even though I never believed I was capable of writing a book. Oh my gosh, so many limiting beliefs about being smart and writing. I mean, in the world, you can get anyone to help you with anything. You just need to show up and have the desire and determination to make it happen. But it's considered a prescriptive memoir, and it's a little bit of a mix of not a parenting how-to book, but really the conversation we've been having today of like how we can grow and create those connections in our personal relationships, but also my journey. So I show my journey, how in mothering, in cancer, in business, and then show you the kind of the lessons along the way, give you a little bit of how-to. But it was interesting because the book came out 1.5 years ago, and I'm not kidding, as soon as it launched, I was like, something's complete. Like that puzzle piece was there. That part of me is gone, and this next evolution is there. So she's out in the world. The book is out in the world, and she's, you know, doing her thing for people. They find me, and I feel like something else is coming, is brewing, and I don't know what it is yet. But it's really about showing women that dying, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, like cutting off those parts of yourself and just give. Like that, we've been taught that is good. but eventually your life is going to show you it's not sustainable. And what we're actually searching for, whether you're buying those parenting books or those business books or those health books, is the more alive you become, the more you become you, is exactly the quote unquote secret that we're all searching for.
Oh, I love that. I literally could not agree more. I just honestly feel like you're just not the hero, are you? If you give everything to everyone else, you're trying to be the hero, but you're not, because you can't even save yourself. And I just feel like, yeah, I 100% agree. I think it's such a good message. Okay, I could literally talk to you forever. I've got so many questions, but I know that your time is precious and I've stolen you for so long, but I have some quick fire questions that I would love to ask you, if that's okay.
Perfect. I love these.
Go for it. So I would love you to finish the sentence. Success is?
Feeling good.
Oh.
On your own terms.
Love it. Happiness is?
The first thing that comes to my mind is like bullshit. I don't know why. I'm just
really controversial.
Yeah. If happiness equals or is fulfillment, but it's over marketed and it drives me crazy.
Nice. Interesting. What is a book or a podcast that changed your life?
I would say a book that has changed. I have so many books, of course, sprinkled around everywhere I'm looking. The Leader Who Had No Title by Robin Sharma.
Oh,
is that his name? And it's a fable about a man who was just an employee in a bookstore, I believe, and really made an impact and influence. And I think we put way too much energy in becoming a specific type of person with skills and titles and status, when in reality, we all are leaders in some capacity.
Oh, I love that. What is the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
I'm like such a rebel that I dislike taking advice from other people. When it's like I would say the best piece of advice is, I don't know. What do you think you should do?
Just trusting your own instincts.
Yeah. I love it when people bring it back. What advice would you give a friend? Like just flipping it back on me so that I'm like, damn it, take my own damn advice.
It's such a good question, but it's so annoying in the moment. When you want the answer, you're like, just tell me. So true. And then last one, this is the easiest one. Where can we find you? Where can everyone find all things Heather Chauvin?
Yeah. So my podcast is where I hang out the most emotionally uncomfortable. The book Dying to Be a Good Mother can be found anywhere books are sold online. And I have quizzes and all the things on where to focus your energy and attention so that we can get there quicker. So yeah, I love it when people also listen to podcasts and then go send me a DM on Instagram. I want to know what your biggest aha was. So you can find me on Instagram at Heather Chauvin.
Love it. Thank you so much. I've absolutely loved chatting to you. I love your outlook on things, and you're so straight talking, but also so, emotionally, I want to say mature. There's just a lot of work that's gone on there. Yeah, no, I like it. But I've absolutely loved chatting to you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all the work you do. And I know that my audience is going to absolutely love this too.
Thank you, Carly.
Thank you. Bye.